G'day everybody, welcome to Workshop Wednesday. Last week I cut out these blanks from a Blackwood blank I won at Grampian's U-turn, and I spoke about how I was going to talk about my mounting options for this week. So that's what I'm going to do. 4 blanks, which I consider to be small blanks. A small blank to me is anything under 6 inches or 150 mil. So I'm going to show 4 different ways to mount these blanks on the lathe without using a faceplate, and this has come about because I've watched a few YouTubers who are doing blanks this size, which is a small blank, by either screwing a faceplate onto them or gluing them to a waste block screwed to a faceplate. And to me, it's, well, the screwing a faceplate there is your screw holes are out close to the edge, so you're potentially losing part of your blank, and a waste block, to me, it's a waste of time. So I shall talk about how I do it. I'm not suggesting I'm right, wrong, and it's not a lesson, it's just how I do it. So the first option I'm going to use is drilling a little mortise. So this blank, you'll remember last week the reason I cut that blank down was it had a crack through it. So this little blank's got that crack. This piece is almost off. It will be off before I start turning it, but it's a good piece for my first method. And my first method is to drill a 25 mil or 1 inch hole just like that. That is the smallest blank I'll try and hold and drill this way. You can put it in an F or a G clamp to hold it. I'm comfortable doing that. Not suggesting you should be. So this is a set of 25 mil pin jaws on a Nova G3 chuck, and that just, when we wind it in, get it in there, close the pin jaws up, push the blank on, and expand the jaws into the mortise. So this method can work equally as well on a larger blank where you might use a larger set of jaws to expand into a mortise. I find that the 25 mil works perfectly well anything up to 6 inches, and sometimes a little bit over if you use a bit of tailstock support. Robbo will hate me. Skew. Beautiful for taking that little bit of cracked wood off. So we just bring the So this method, the fact that I had that chunk missing out dictates the shape of the bowl, so it's going to be more of an OG. But you can finish the whole outside of the bowl without turning it round. The other methods is a little bit more shuffling around to get it done. And there I have my little grooves for my chuck when I turn it around. Okay, so my second method involves just pressure. So this is another small, probably 75mm, 80mm blank. I've got my centre hole where I marked the circle, and I have a Steb live centre. And I'm just going to use that to put pressure against the chuck while I turn myself a little tenon on this side. Then I can turn it round. I can turn a mortise on this side to fit this chuck, turn it around, do the outside, turn it around, do the inside. So there's a little bit more moving around, but it's equally as simple, and you don't have to do a glue block on it and then turn that off and smooth all that up. And the reason I use the Steb centre, there's two reasons. It's got a larger bearing surface to push the blank into the chuck, and it also has the centre pin retracts so it doesn't push a big hole into the pin, because this is still going to be the bottom of the bowl. Sorry about that, I bumped the, hope you didn't get seasick on that. And there's my mortise, no tenon, sorry. So now I can pull that away. I can turn this around. Just using my skew. Just put a little, mark the centre as well while I'm there. So this effectively then becomes the same as the previous one. Where I now have a mortise on the inside to just wind it in. Grab that, and I'm ready to go to turn the outside of the bowl. Okay, so the third option I'm going to use is simply to put the piece between centres. So I've got my centre hole there again. I can use that to locate it onto the spur drive. Then I bring up my tailstock. I'll use the Steb centre again because it's already in there. Just have a little spin to see that it's about where I want it. That'll do. Push that up tight. And the rest around. And then it's the same process as the previous one. Just turn it off, turn the tenon, turn it round, turn the mortise, turn it round, finish the outside. Although it sounds a lot, So now that's all ready to go. Repeated the same as for the last piece. Turn it round, turn a mortise on that side, turn it back around, finish the outside. And these are all fairly simple and fairly quick options to mount your small bowls. So the last method of the four I'm going to use is the woodworm screw. So the woodworm screw involves drilling the appropriate sized hole in the middle of the blank, and then you use a screw, a woodworm. There's a few different options. I have the 3-in-1 Vic Mark screw chuck, which is a very nice piece of kit. You can, and the thing with the screw, the woodworm screw, is it's not the screw that holds it, it's the pressure against the backing plate. So the 3-in-1, you have the big plate, you've got the small plate in the middle, or you can unscrew that and turn it around and you've got a medium sized plate. I'm not going to use that for this because not everyone's going to have one of them. So most of the good chucks you get will come with a woodworm screw. So this is the one that comes with the Nova chucks, and that just clamps in to the middle of the jaws, and then you use the jaws, the face of the jaws, as your pressure point, screw it up against that. And this is the Vic Mark version. Now the Vic Mark version is a very long screw, so if you're using it on standard jaws, you would pack it out a bit with some fillers, a few bits of plywood or something, a piece of something to get out, so you didn't, because you don't need that length of screw. But the reason it's so long is so it works on the shark jaws. So there I have a faceplate screw, or a woodworm screw, I think the term they use on these ones. If you watch, there's two turners on YouTube who use this an awful lot. One is Phil Anderson, Shady Acres. He does nearly everything with the woodworm screw, and he's got the Nova chuck, so the first screw I showed you will be the sort of woodworm screw he uses. And Richard Raffin has the 3-in-1 and also a few homemade ones, and he often uses a woodworm screw. So even with this, I've got nearly an inch sticking out. I don't need that much, so I'm going to pack it out. A bit of plywood, so now I've got probably 1.5 centimetres, so about 5/8 of an inch sticking out. Turn the lathe right down. And it's on. So we lock the spindle. And that's on. And that's as secure as you need to be to turn all of the outside of the bolt. 1200 revs. Okay, so now that I've got this one on, I'll change the camera position and I will turn the rest of this bowl for the back end of this video. forgot to start the camera, but I've just marked my tenon with the dividers and taken it in to get a foot. So the knocking tells me I've still got a flat spot here somewhere. Or a hard spot. It's a hard, yeah, no, it's a little bit of a hard spot there. Right. Using my scraper just to make it a concave. And to set my little groove for the cut. Ready to sand. I won't show the sanding. Bit of beeswax and linseed oil. There we are, some very nice, I find it typical chatoyance in the Blackwood. Both sides. Nearly every Blackwood piece I turn has that in it. Okie dokie, so turned around and ready to do the inside. 1/2 inch bowl gouge. Face off the front. Little whack of 120 to take the edge off. Turn it down. Depth hole. Temp 2. scraper to finish off. So I'm scraping here, but I'm looking over there to see what the marks are like. And ready to sand. Beeswax, oil, and then just pressure to melt the beeswax in. So here we have it, a little Blackwood bowl. Excuse my arm. It's finished up 120 by 50, which is about 5 inches by 2 inches. It's a bit of the Blackwood that I won at U-turn. That's the largest blank I got out of the big blank I cut up. Blackwood, some lovely chatoyance. I'm happy with the thickness. Something I've been working on is having a rounded bottom in my bowls, not coming into a flat that matches the foot. So that means that when you get down to here, it becomes a little bit thicker. Otherwise you finish up too thin in here, but I'm very happy with the shape on the inside. I'm happy with the shape on the outside. So there's my little Blackwood bowl, coupled up with how I mount my pieces. And thank you all very much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully you may have gained something out of it. And please like, subscribe, and I will see you back here again next week.